Welcome to my channel Limelight Leaks. Please share and subscribe and hit the bell icon for new updates. Richard Rawlings was aware that it was the end. He turned around and stated, "It's time to go," as many fans had feared, since the cameras had stopped and the garage had become quiet. A full-speed thrill journey with roaring engines, crazy car, builds, crazy characters, and that electric high that only comes from pursuing huge ambitions under pressure. Fast and Loud was more than just another automotive show on television. Rawlings himself, a slick-haired, fast-talking, deal-making Texan who could turn an old junker into gold, was at the heart of it all. Viewers were riveted to their screens from the first episode, as Richard and his crew at Gas Monkey Garage jumped right into daring restorations, barn finds, and auction wagers. But as time went on, something changed. Something changed in the energy. The concert abruptly ended one day after familiar faces left, and the builds were less thrilling. What actually transpired behind the scenes left many perplexed. Was burnout the cause, drama, or simply the inevitable conclusion of something that has already progressed beyond anyone's expectations? In this in-depth analysis, we'll look at the beginning, middle, and unexpected end of one of the most captivating auto shows ever created, as well as how the man behind the monkey developed a reputation, a legacy, and possibly even burnout, while pursuing it. It all began with Richard Rawlings, who became a household celebrity almost overnight after starting out as a car hustler. Rawlings had been grinding long before Fast and Loud appeared on television. In 2002, he established Gas Monkey Garage in Dallas, Texas, where he built and flipped automobiles. The store was well known in the community for its quality work and unique style, but it was nothing compared to what was about to happen. Everything changed in 2012 when Richard's outrageous attitude and the unadulterated energy of his shop caught the attention of the Discovery Channel. Fast and Loud was like a nitrous shot into the world of auto shows when it first came out. It was about the hustle, the deal, the drama, and the fraternity of builders operating on the edge, not just the details. Rawlings did a fantastic job, portraying the gregarious, pushy salesman. He wanted to quickly fix cars and turn a profit, not merely fix them up. The combination of genuine anxiety, ludicrous constructions, and the characters that brought Gas Monkey Garage to life captivated viewers. The camaraderie between Richard Rawlings and Aaron Kaufman, his grime companion, was a major factor in the show's early popularity. Richard was nothing compared to Aaron, the silent bearded genius who had a passion for engines and traditional craftsmanship. Aaron contributed technique and spirit, while Richard brought hustle and hype. He had the ability to transform a rusted-out car shell into a moving masterpiece, frequently on short notice and with little funding. Part business, part fraternity, and maybe a little combat. Their combination was electrifying. They argued, laughed, and encouraged one another to achieve greater things. Because it felt authentic, they adored it. Two men who were passionate about their work but approached it from different perspectives created the conflict, which wasn't predetermined. Aaron was more interested in creating something good and unique than he was in flipping cars or getting sponsorships. Richard, too. He desired it to be quick, ostentatious, and successful. Every episode felt like a race against the clock because of that push-pull dynamic, which also gave viewers a sense of participation. But more than merely managing a garage, Richard's greatest strength was creating a brand. Richard moved into overdrive and turned Gas Monkey into a full-fledged enterprise as soon as Fast and Loud took off. It was now more than just a garage. It was a way of life. He emblazoned the Gas Monkey emblem on a grill and bar, hats, energy drinks, and clothing. Richard was constantly ahead of the game, leveraging his notoriety to secure sponsorships, collaborations, and products. He's known for saying, "Get you some of it," became a catchphrase for gearheads worldwide, and it was successful. From a dingy Dallas store, Gas Monkey Garage has become a household name. The fans were investing in the brand rather than only watching the show. Even if it was only through an energy drink can or a t-shirt, they wanted to be a part of the Gas Monkey universe. Rawlings was a master at playing the clever business card. He restored the general appeal and marketability of car culture. Nowadays, flipping antique vehicles has become a high-stakes pastime, not only for die-hard technicians. Rawlings transformed from a gearhead to a rock star businessman by the year 2014. Dodge then called at that point. Richard was chosen to represent the venerable automaker's new campaign, which aimed to appeal to a younger, more daring demographic by promoting muscle automobiles like the Hellcat. It was Richard's ideal job. He was able to cash large checks, drive fast cars, and film dazzling advertisements while maintaining brand integrity. Fans initially adored it. Observing Rawlings burn rubber in a Charger or spin a Challenger seemed like a logical progression of his on-screen persona. This was his life, and he wasn't acting. However, the gleam gradually began to diminish. Richard, from 2014 to 2017, was everywhere. He had opened restaurants, started garage rehab, and had Gas Monkey energy drinks on store shelves. But Fast and Loud was still going strong. And now he was promoting Dodge vehicles on every screen. It was beginning to seem excessive. Richard was starting to be perceived as a corporate pitchman by the same supporters who had earlier viewed him as a tough underdog. He was spreading himself too thin, according to his detractors. He was pursuing sponsorships and expanding the brand in all directions, rather than concentrating on what made Gas Monkey great: killer builds and compelling storytelling. According to some devoted watchers, the show had lost its appeal and had become a marketing gimmick. The toll of such criticism began to mount behind the scenes. Eventually, the Dodge agreement came to a quiet end. Richard began to retreat, concentrating more on his personal endeavors and attempting to resurrect the enchantment of the garage. Concurrently, garage rehab began to attract its own following, and rumors circulated that Fast and Loud might be running low on fuel. Naturally, Aaron Kaufman, the silent creator who helped make the program famous, had already made the decision to leave because he was fed up with the demands, the deadlines, and perhaps the trajectory the show had taken. However, his departure was only one aspect of a larger narrative. Raw energy and crazy ambition had formed the foundation of Fast and Loud. However, that crazy journey started to slow down somewhere along the way. Furthermore, it might have been time for Richard Rawlings to hang up the keys, at least for that particular chapter. Aaron Kaufman never really liked being in the spotlight. Although he gained widespread recognition on Fast and Loud and was adored by his followers, he had no desire for celebrity. In the world of custom automobiles, Aaron was an artist who enjoyed the little things. He was the type of builder who could find beauty in the bones of an old vehicle and, with enough passion and talent, bring it back to life. The strain behind the scenes increased along with the show's meteoric rise in popularity. What began as a casual garage show swiftly evolved into a relentless production schedule with more filming days, stricter deadlines, unending brand commitments, and less creative freedom. The pace of reality TV became oppressive to Aaron, who preferred doing things correctly over quickly. Fans noticed that something had changed over time. Aaron had less of a gleam in his eyes. He appeared worn out, occasionally obviously irritated, and less engaged in the untamed builds that used to excite him. It was difficult to deny that anything was wrong by 2015. The tension, collaboration, and drive that had initially made Fast and Loud so captivating were beginning to wane. Aaron appeared to be retreating from the spotlight, quietly growing weary of a system that no longer allowed him the flexibility to create things the way he desired, while Richard Rawlings flourished under it, balancing agreements and creating a media empire. In 2017, Aaron made the difficult decision that he was done after years of enduring the stress. He permanently altered the essence of Fast and Loud when he left the show. For devoted fans, Aaron's exit felt like the soul of the garage was departing, not just another character change. He was more than a supporting actor. He was, in many respects, the reason so many people watched. Aaron gave a sense of authenticity to the fast-paced pandemonium surrounding him with his thick beard, quiet attention, and intense love for craftsmanship. He just loved making interesting automobiles. He wasn't interested in fame or money. Additionally, it began to weigh him down as the show's business side started to overshadow its artistic side. Though not necessarily better, the buildings were becoming larger and more ostentatious. Every frame had to have the sponsors' logos. The schedules for filming were demanding. Additionally, Aaron had limited opportunity to pursue the complex, boundary-pushing projects he had always dreamed of due to the budget-driven framework. Fans took note. Online whispering began in 2015. Aaron's appearance changed, emotionally, not physically. His smile had diminished. He didn't appear to be as involved. Once lighthearted and humorous, his relationship with Richard now seemed forced. Aaron yearned for creativity and control, while Richard chased the flip and the celebrity, and they clashed increasingly frequently. Not only was there creative conflict, but two men were developing in rather different ways. There were rumors that Aaron desired greater autonomy, more influence, and more fulfilling job. According to reports, he proposed more intricate builds, customs that would test his abilities and his brain, but they weren't appropriate for the TV-friendly quick turnaround structure of Fast and Loud. That annoyance finally bubbled over. Then there was the celebrity. Wearing it like a custom-tailored suit, Richard appeared in advertisements, car shows, and even the debut of Gas Monkey restaurants and energy beverages. Aaron, though. In front of the camera, he never felt at ease. Not the other way around. Fame had found him. Instead of the commotion of TV lights and camera teams following him around, he liked the silence of the garage. The sound of tools clanking and engines revving. He was worn down by that kind of exposure. It's difficult enough to build a car you adore. Are you working under pressure, in front of a dozen people, and producers are requesting dramatic sound bites? That is a completely different planet. Fans realized something had to give by the end of 2015. Speculation erupted on internet forums. Would Aaron resign? Had he had enough of the limelight? Many people think his departure was already planned for a long time, even though the program didn't formally announce it until 2017. The celebrity, the burnout, the creative tension, those seeds had been sown and were taking root. His departure signified a significant change in the tone and core of Fast and Loud, not just the end of an era. Richard Rawlings had his sights set on something else, something larger, while all of this was going on with Aaron. Richard was a brand in motion by 2016, not merely the face of Fast and Loud. Richard was everywhere, from his expanding restaurant and merchandising empire, to his collaborations with Dodge and Gas Monkey garage gear that was flying off the shelves. However, that achievement raised the issue of whether he was already preparing to leave Fast and Loud. Richard presented Garage Rehab, a brand new program, to Discovery in the same year. At first glance, it appeared to be a wise commercial decision, an additional strategy to expand the empire. However, it appeared to be more to some insiders and admirers. Richard might have already been searching for the next stage of his career. Garage Rehab's hook was ingenious. It was about saving struggling auto shops across America, not simply about making vehicles. Similar to Bar Rescue, except with gearheads and oil. Richard would quickly identify the issue, poor tools, poor management, or disarray, and then resolve it. He collaborated with a no-nonsense project manager named Russell Holmes and a garage designer named Chris Stevens. Together they gave struggling stores a second shot by bringing cameras, money, and expertise. Richard found the show to be a perfect fit. It allowed him to maintain his prominence, maintain his professional demeanor, and grow the Gas Monkey brand without being constrained by the same framework that Fast and Loud had been using for years. It was more about transformation and leadership than it was about building. And it raised eyebrows as well as curiosity among fans. Was this simply his empire's next logical move? Or was the routine at Gas Monkey Garage starting to wear him out? After all, perhaps Richard realized that Aaron's departure was imminent and that the original recipe was beginning to show wear. Even lightning eventually runs out of energy, but Fast and Loud had been like lightning in a bottle. Garage Rehab provided something fresh, something he could design from the ground up, and perhaps something with less drama behind the scenes. It was evident by the end of 2016 that Fast and Loud's heyday was about to change. The original group was breaking up. The show was losing the synergy that had made it so memorable. Ever the businessman, Richard was already setting the stage for the upcoming chapter. Garage Rehab was undoubtedly a turning point, regardless of whether it was intended to take the place of Fast and Loud. It signified freedom to Aaron, the opportunity to finally construct the way he desired. For Richard, it meant authority, an additional platform where he could take charge and make all the decisions. For fans too, it was the start of the end of one of the most memorable reality TV journeys. The concept makes logical. Gas Monkey Garage was already a huge success thanks to Richard Rawlings. He had the type of demeanor that performed well on television, had an excellent business sense, and knew what worked in the automotive industry. People listened to his proposition for a new show. However, some people were surprised by the timing. Was this his fallback plan in case things didn't work out? Or was it a new project to accompany Fast and Loud? Richard was already growing weary of the constant work at Gas Monkey and the stress of being on a reality show, according to several followers. Additionally, there were whispers that Aaron Kaufman was dissatisfied and considering quitting. When Garage Rehab was ultimately broadcast on television in 2017, it received a favorable reception. The audience enjoyed watching Little Garage's struggle and how Richard's crew helped. This time, the goal was to save small businesses, not to build fancy custom cars. Fans saw Rawlings in a new light thanks to the program. Even while he was still boisterous and self-assured, you could see a more serious, introspective side to him. Perhaps he wasn't actually leaving Fast and Loud. Perhaps he was simply maturing. Celebrity on television doesn't last forever, and Richard Rawlings knew this. He demonstrated that he wasn't a one-show wonder with Garage Rehab. He had a larger project in mind. In 2016, he made a significant risk. Garage rehab demonstrated that he was still prepared to work hard, whether it was because to his enthusiasm, astute planning, or perhaps both. Then Aaron Kaufman made the crucial choice to resign. Did something more intimate occur, or were there creative differences? Aaron was more than just a mechanic, as any fan of Fast and Loud would have known. He played a significant role in the show's core. Next to Richard, Aaron became a fan favorite because of his enormous beard, serene demeanor, and incredible talents. People were therefore astonished to learn that Aaron was leaving in 2017. Why was the big question? You must examine how Fast and Loud operated in order to fully comprehend. The goal was to locate used junk cars, quickly fix them up, and then sell them for a profit. Richard was the money man and the face. The builds were the brainchild of Aaron. He could create dream machines out of wrecks. For a while it was effective. Aaron, however, became irritated with time. The bustle annoyed him. In his opinion, the show placed too much emphasis on speed and not enough on producing high-quality work. He stated in subsequent interviews that he wished to experiment with more challenging and inventive structures. However, he was unable to accomplish that due to the strict filming schedule. He wasn't content to design automobiles merely for the cameras. His goal was to create something durable. Fans also began to notice that Aaron didn't appear to be as joyful. He appeared weary, or disengaged to some. The rumors began. Was there conflict between him and Richard, or was it merely a matter of work? Aaron remained kind when he eventually made his departure known in early 2017. "It's time to move on and work on my own terms," he remarked. However, viewers continued to question if there had been a problem between the two buddies. Richard appeared, taken aback by the choice. He publicly declared that he was devastated and that he had not anticipated it. However, he said that he wished Aaron luck and supported him. He was believed by several admirers. Others speculated that he might simply be saying the appropriate things to the cameras. Aaron did not vanish after leaving Fast and Loud. He debuted his own program, Shifting Gears with Aaron Kaufman, in 2018. He constructed things his way this time. It was more meticulous, slower, and centered on originality and quality. It was obvious that he was attempting to be loyal to himself and do things in a different way than the Gas Monkey. The next important commercial decision was to license the Gas Monkey moniker. Was it selling out, or a wise business move? Richard Rawlings took a risk. He began granting permission for other businesses to utilize the Gas Monkey name. Longtime fans were surprised by this. Was Rawlings doing the right thing, or was he diluting the reputation that brought him fame? Gas Monkey Garage had evolved beyond a simple auto repair company. Richard had made it a well-known brand. There were eateries, energy drinks, t-shirts, and hats. He went one step farther in 2019. He began granting other companies licenses to use the name. This implied that other businesses may purchase the right to use the Gas Monkey name on tequila, beer, auto parts, and other products. It was smart from a business perspective. Fans were first thrilled. The logo was all around them. Gas Monkey was evolving into a way of life rather than just a show. You could see it at racing and major events, wear the apparel, or drink Gas Monkey beer. Richard even alluded to collaborating with foreign businesses. The company was expanding internationally. Richard appeared to be creating an empire. However, the adjustment was not well received by many. Fans thought the brand was being overextended. They missed the emphasis on the shop and the automobile builds, which initially drew them in as fans. They began to believe that the brand was more concerned with earning money than with producing automobiles. The criticism didn't appear to disturb Richard. He frequently claimed that his achievement was the result of hard labor. He gained freedom by licensing the brand. He was not required to work in the store every day. He emphasized in interviews that he was more than just a vehicle enthusiast. He was an entrepreneur. To him, licensing was simply the next step up. It was ultimately a power maneuver. It demonstrated his progress from laboring in a Dallas garage to building a globally recognized business. Then Fast and Loud came to an end. What was Richard Rawlings' actual fate? The show was one of the most popular automotive shows on television for many years. It had everything: humorous moments, clever builds, and Richard Rawlings in the forefront, of course. However, after 8 years, the show abruptly ended in 2020. There was silence, no final episode, no grand farewell. What went wrong? Fans were left wondering. Did Richard choose to leave, or did the network cancel it? 2012 saw the debut of Fast and Loud. Richard and the Gas Monkey crew rose to fame quite fast. People enjoyed seeing them transform rusted junkers into stylish hot rods. The combination of construction and behind-the-scenes turmoil was entertaining. To even non-auto enthusiasts, there was just the right amount of humor, action, and automotive culture in the program. Fast and Loud had aired for 16 seasons by 2020. Given how quickly television is evolving, that is a long time for any reality show. Fans continued to watch despite the passage of time. Why, then, did the show conclude? Richard Rawlings, eventually, discussed it in December 2020. "Fast and Loud is over," he said. The shocking thing is that Discovery did not decide to cancel the show. Richard claimed that he was the one who left. "I've exited Discovery," he declared. Richard clarified that he wants greater control over his brand, content, and upcoming ventures, saying, "We're done. I'm a free agent." He felt prepared to work on his own terms after years of being bound by network contracts. He saw it as a way to close one chapter and begin a new one, rather than a depressing conclusion. Critics and fans disagree with Richard's assertion that it was about artistic freedom. Fast and Loud, according to some, had reached its end. Important people like Aaron Kaufman had long since left, and the stories began to feel the same. Simply put, the show didn't feel the same. Some claim that Richard and Discovery had issues. According to rumors, they weren't always in agreement regarding the direction or editing of the show. Richard's brand, meanwhile, was expanding outside of the event with energy drinks, restaurants, and souvenirs. He said that his Discovery contract was quite restrictive. He clarified, saying, "I signed away all media rights, which meant I had almost no control over my own social media." He even claimed that he couldn't upload a picture of a car he purchased without a Discovery representative was present. Richard shared Aaron Kaufman's desire for greater autonomy. Fast and Loud ended because of that ambition. By 2020, new series like Diesel Brothers, Gold Rush, and Street Outlaws were receiving greater attention from Discovery. Perhaps they believed that Loud and Fast didn't fit into their new ambitions. Perhaps it wasn't receiving the same number of ratings as before. Did Richard's celebrity alter his party lifestyle according to rumors? Richard Rawlings, the star of Fast and Loud and Gas Monkey Garage, was rumored to be returning to his wild party lifestyle. Although he had always been flamboyant and carefree, some people now questioned whether his popularity had altered him too much. He appeared to be living large, as evidenced by photos of his extravagant travels, late-night parties, and expensive cars. However, it wasn't a hit with everyone. Some admirers believed that the man who used to put in a lot of effort in the garage had changed due to fame and wealth. He now looked to be more interested in attention-grabbing events than in making cars. Rumors circulated regarding issues in his personal life as well. They divorced once more in 2019 after getting married to Suzanne Merrill in 2015. By 2020, Richard was living the high life and dating someone fresh. Fans questioned whether his relationship suffered as a result of his new way of life. Others wondered if he was merely attempting to maintain his fame or if he was truly happy. A second-chance romance under pressure. His intermittent connection with Suzanne Marie Morel was the gentler story behind all the loud automobiles, big transactions, and fast engines. Despite the ups and downs in their love story, their 2015 remarriage drew the attention of viewers. Many questioned whether it was really love or merely a fleeting spark under duress, even though it appeared to be a lovely second chance. In the late 1990s, Richard and Suzanne were previously married. After almost 10 years, they broke up, but they remained in touch. Many were taken aback when Richard chose to try again after his success with Fast and Loud increased. They got married again in secret in Cabo, Mexico, in January 2015. Finding each other again after years apart initially felt like a dream come true. However, since their first marriage, a lot had changed. Richard was now a rising businessman and TV celebrity. His life was going quickly with Gas Monkey Garage, restaurants, products, and even concert venues. It was difficult to maintain their relationship while admirers were following him and cameras were constantly in view. By 2019, the situation deteriorated once further. With little explanation, Richard and Suzanne discreetly parted ways. Fans remarked that neither provided many details. Richard shifted his attention to his lifestyle brand and travel, while Suzanne stopped appearing in posts. A raucous love tale came to a quiet finish with their second divorce.